Welcome to A Dash of Life podcast, where every episode brings you a touch of spirit, a pinch of passion, and a zest for life.
Hello, and thank you for joining me for episode 7 of A Dash of Life podcast, where we're talking about self worth. I first wanted to start this episode off with the definition of self worth, but if you Google the definition of self worth, there are several things that come up. There are several definitions that come up, and they all kind of have the same thing, but I'm going to read just a few of them. All right, so this first one is from the Cambridge Dictionary, and it says the value you give your life and achievements. And this is why I wanted to read these to you, because it's a little different for each one of them. All right, and I didn't select them all that I found. I just wanted to provide an example of 3 different ones. This one is from APA, or the American Psychological Association. And it says self-worth is a noun, an individual's evaluation of themselves as a valuable, capable human being deserving of respect and consideration. Positive feelings of self-worth tend to be associated with a high degree of self-acceptance and self-esteem. Now, if you look at some of the other definitions, they compare and contrast self-esteem, and then others say self-worth and self-esteem are the same. All right, and then this last one is from vocabulary.com. And it says, it's a noun, the quality of being worthy of esteem or respect. All right, so with all of that being said, y'all, I like to keep things simple, right? I love to keep things simple. So for the basis of this conversation, we're just going to break this word down and define it with 2 words. We're going to define it with 2 words. Worth. If you look up the word just worth by itself, many things come up, but the word value comes up. So then if you look up self, basically we're referring to yourself, right? So I'm going to refer it as, how do you value yourself? And what is the importance of how you value yourself as being the definition of self-worth? So when we look at self-worth, there are many different factors that can come into play here that can impact your overall sense of self-worth. Many of them are outside factors. However, there are some other additional internal factors that can come into play with this. Societal expectations, negative self-talk, perfectionism, and people-pleasing. So if you think about those 4 factors, how does your specific, and I'm talking just specifically for you, how does your specific self-worth intertwine with all of those? Societal expectations. Do you place your worth based off of what society tells you? And if you've been tuning into the other episodes, you know that I am very much a proponent and supportive of not adhering to what society is telling us that we are. So in the same vein, let's not adhere to what society is telling us our worth is. That might be something that is difficult for many people. And I say that because, if you historically, or if you kind of operate in like the people pleasing realm, then you are basing your self-worth on somebody else's need of you or response to you. And I think that thinking is very flawed. Historically, and I also have experienced like people's attention of you a lot of times is based on what you can do for them. So if you base your self-worth on the attention of someone else, then you have to change that. Negative self-talk. How does your self-worth play into that? Are you, and I'll get into this. I don't want to get ahead of myself. And y'all, if you've been watching all episodes, you're gonna see like a consistent theme here. I am firmly, or I should say, I firmly believe that it starts with us. I feel like it starts with us at a young age too, when we're developing that confidence and we're developing that self-worth and we're developing that self-esteem. I feel like it starts when we're young, but ultimately we have to be secure in who we are in order to exhibit all of that. Negative self-talk. How do you talk to yourself? Do you love yourself like you love others? Do you give the love that you give to other people to yourself? If not, why not? You are the most precious thing on this earth. Treat yourself that way. Regardless. And I'm going to get into that too. Perfectionism. Now, and I'm referring to, like, there's obviously going to be situations where you have to be spot on, right? It has to go the way that it has to go. If not, there will be detrimental, sometimes even fatal consequences. But when we're talking about like perfectionism and the expectation of ourselves, that is a little bit of a different context. And if we operate consistently in this mindset that we have to be perfect all the time, that is detrimental to our health. Because what happens when you are not? Does that decrease your value? I think not. But what happens when you aren't perfect and you do mess up? And you do fail, then what? If you're operating in this mindset of I have to be perfect, that is going to upset your entire world. And a lot of people can't get over that. They cannot come up out of that. So let's not set ourselves up by trying to be perfect all the time. Now, you have to show up. You're going to have to show up. But that doesn't mean that you have to be completely perfect all the time. You might have a very critical project that you're working on, and you have to bring 100%, you have to bring 110% to that project. That is okay. Because you understand that if you don't get whatever project done, there's going to be some kind of consequence of that, regardless of what it is, right? So you have to show up in that. But in your operations, your daily operations, and how you show up to the world every day, you don't have to be perfect. So think about that introduction, and think about how your self-worth is tied into all of those factors. Now, how do we continue to grow our self-worth, or how do we practice the highest level of self-worth? Well, we operate in several we work on several different factors, which you've heard me say many of these before, but I think that it bears repeating. I'll tell you, I think there is definitely a shift in accepting. I believe that there is a shift in accepting, because we are more verbal and accepting of mental health. As a society, I think that we are starting finally to change a lot of that taboo that, we didn't talk about mental health, 20 years ago or whatever. But I feel like there is this shift, which is amazing, because we all understand, or many of us understand, that we are not going to be 100% all the time. And that's okay. We understand that we are going to have situations that will completely knock us off of our axis. And when that happens, we have to rewrite. But anyway, I feel like that when we work on this stuff, or when we work on these factors, that we certainly set ourselves up for success, and also help us operate in a higher level of self-worth. And those factors are self-compassion, setting boundaries, we like those, challenging negative thoughts, heard that before, celebrating small wins, you've heard that before, and reflecting on values, which I haven't really talked much about that, but I think it bears worth the discussion, or that it's important enough for the discussion on self-worth to include. So, when we talk about self-compassion, how compassionate are you with yourself? And let me just say that this is not an ego trip. This is not an ego trip. This is the basis for how we operate in our whole selves. And I want that to be clear, because a lot of people operate through their ego. And many times it's because they don't know any different. But I feel like when you do that, you set yourself up for some very humbling experiences that may cause problems for you later on. But enough about the ego, and getting back to self-compassion. Men, again, how do you love others? What kind of love do you show others? And do you reciprocate that for yourself? Are you compassionate with yourself? Do you feel like you are your coach? There's many times where you're going to be going through something and you're going to be the only one who is there. So being compassionate at those times will certainly help you get up out of that, but also indicate how valuable you feel yourself is, or you feel you are as yourself. How do people treat gems? And I want you to think of yourself as a gem. It could be a diamond. Diamonds are under a lot of pressure so that they can, be made into something shiny and something very valuable. But how do people handle diamonds or gems? Any kind of gems that you can think of, amethysts, sapphires, rubies, emeralds. Are they careless with them? Most often not, because why? They're valuable. So think about that as you are treating your own self. You are valuable. And you have to be compassionate with your own self. Setting boundaries. I talked a lot about this. I believe it was in episode 4 and 5. You are valuable, right? Your time is valuable. So you have to be able to operate from a sense of, I have to know when I'm overextended. And if I am, I need to set a boundary here. And that's okay. It's okay to tell people no. You should be comfortable with telling people no. It doesn't always mean that it's a negative. It just means that you cannot support them in whatever it is that they're asking you to do at the moment. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you're a taker and you're consistently taking from other people and they ask you to show up for them, that's different. That's completely different. But if you know that you're always, you're trying to help or whatever, and this particular instance or occasion, you're not able to, for whatever reason, you're overextended, it's okay to say no. I also talked about this, I believe, in episode 4, is challenging negative self-talk. How do we tie that into self-worth? Well, if we are feeling like I didn't perform, perfectionism, if we're feeling like I didn't perform and so I am not good, I am not a good person, I am not worthy, check it. Check it right there. Our experiences in life are already difficult. And so we don't need to beat ourselves up. We don't need to create environments where we're our own worst enemies and that we're going up against ourselves. So check the negative self-talk at the door. Don't allow it. And remember what I said, I think it was episode 5, flip it. When the negative thought comes in, or you start getting down on yourself because of something that happened, flip it to something positive. What could you learn from that situation? How could you take whatever the experience was and use that for good in the future? Celebrating small wins. Listen, if all you did today was get up out of bed today, hey, very good. You got out of the bed. You got up. You fell 8 times. You got up 9. Please celebrate those small wins, because we know those small wins add up to bigger wins. If you accomplished a goal, celebrate it. And I'm not even talking about like, yay. No, go do something for yourself. Celebrate it. Because you're out there day in, day out. You're putting in the work. You are doing it. And when you achieve something, especially when you've achieved a goal that you set for yourself maybe earlier in the year, man, you have to celebrate that. Shoot, take your girls out, go have drinks or whatever, go to a movie, do something that you haven't done before in celebration of what you just accomplished. Yes, that's right. You have to celebrate those small wins. Go somewhere. You've achieved a goal. Awesome. Congratulate yourself. I want to talk about reflecting on values. Hi. So, sorry, I'm learning Korean. No. Anyway, if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're just listening in, just it doesn't affect you, but know that every episode there's an obstacle. Just know that. So I really appreciate those of you who continue to listen to this podcast. And please click like and share on YouTube if you so desire, and tune in, every Thursday. Anyway, so if we're talking about reflecting on our values and how our self-worth is tied up into that, what are your thoughts on that? And what I mean by that, and what I'm really referring to, is the way that you were brought up, the way that you were taught as a young child. How did you develop your self-worth based off of what you were taught? Or did you develop any self-worth because of how you were brought up, what you were not taught as a young child? So when we talk about values, as children, we hope that our parents teach us all about values and, how to act, how to live, how to operate in society, how to be good, things to avoid. We would hope that our parents taught us something about that and what we stand for. But no shade on parents. Some parents are good. Some parents are not so good. Others don't need to be having kids. But that's another topic for another day. So, did you receive the information that you needed in order to exhibit values and how you value yourself? And if not, as an adult, there is so much information out here that you can create your own values as an adult. Now, a lot of people take what they've learned from their parents, kind of, tailor it to themselves and what their opinion is about life, and create their own values off of it. Do they mirror their parents? It could be. It could be very close. It could be the same. Now, here's a question, because I feel like if you are exhibiting the same values as your parents, but you have not completely evaluated other things, then who's to say that what they taught you is right? Our parents only go off of what they were taught. And, maybe they were good and they kind of took whatever their parents showed them, and then they took it as their own, made it their own. And then that's how we got to where you are. But if your parents have not given you any kind of values, maybe they weren't there. Maybe you got your values from your grandmother, your grandfather, your grandparents. Maybe you got your values from an aunt, foster mother. It doesn't necessarily have to come from your parents. However, do you value yourself enough to exhibit values that allow you to operate in your highest sense of self-worth? Very good for conversation, very good for thinking about after you hear this, when you get your own time to spend with yourself. It's a very good conversation starter for yourself if you're looking to increase your level of self-worth within yourself. But hopefully you were taught values that emphasize that you are a very worthy person. Your life means something. And if not, you can change it. Now, I mean, I definitely am a firm believer that God gives us the blueprint through the Bible. You don't have to be Christian to listen and understand that. If you believe in a different religion, that's awesome. And I'm sure that religion also teaches you certain values and values you as a person, as you are, how you were made. Reflect on that and think about what you were taught as a younger person. And do those values truly value you in your self-worth? And are they the foundation for how you value yourself? I still have quite a bit, but I'm going to try to tie this up. I don't want to do like parts of whole episodes all the time, right? But I understand that some of these topics have so much more information that can be presented, that I am very cognizant of that. But I'm also cognizant of your time. So there's a point of feedback. If you feel like the parts of the episodes are good, let me know, because I'll keep doing it. I just don't want to consistently be like, oh, this is part 2 of episode 10, that kind of thing. So anyway, when we talk about self-worth, we cannot have a conversation without including self-love. How well do you love yourself? And those factors that I've already talked about, they definitely tie into self-love. So I ain't saying what's his name who fell in love with himself in the mirror? I forget what his name is. I have to look it up. But I'm not talking about I'm not talking about narcissists, right? He was the one who looked at his reflection and fell in love with himself. I'm not talking about that. So that's not a healthy self-love kind of thing, right? But if you truly love yourself, then you place value on yourself. You assign value to you, right? You don't allow anyone to place value on your life. You show up as you are. 100%. And you can talk about, oh, well, I have these flaws, blah, blah, blah. I don't like for people to say that they have flaws. We are all born with different capabilities. And so we can't look at that as a flaw. Like we are made whole. I believe we are made whole in 100% of what we are supposed to be and do as God made us, right? That's what I believe. And so if we are saying like, oh, I'm flawed because I can't do such and such. No, you just don't have that ability. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that we allow society to tell us, that if we cannot do a thing, then we're not valuable. No, we need that other person to show up and do the thing, right? Right. Not us. So leave the whole I'm flawed out, in terms of abilities and stuff. Like we might have flawed thinking and things like that, but in terms of our abilities, the way that we're made. I already said it, but honor your own unique abilities and your own value based off of that, not anyone's opinion of you. People are fickle and their opinions change based on the weather, some of them. So don't worry about it. Forgiveness. If you mess up, yes, forgive yourself And we talked about, we had a whole episode on forgiveness. So if you have not seen it or heard it, check it out. But also like nurturing your inner peace. You got all these thoughts going on up here. All these thoughts that are telling you, you're not this, you're not that. Woo! Slow down. Flip it. Remember what I said in episode, I think it was 4 or 5. Flip it. No. Stop. Continue on. Flip it to something positive. And you do need to check yourself sometimes. Sometimes we are way off. But that we use our closest circle for those checks. And then lastly, I'm just going to end with, having boundaries and self-respect for yourself. Self-respect. If you don't respect yourself, no one else is going to respect you. People do to you what you allow them to. So if you're not respecting yourself in your own right, in your own authentic self, ciao, these people are going to take advantage of that. So that's not what we want to do either. We have to have respect for ourselves, who we are, understand how we're supposed to be showing up to the world, our capabilities, and love all of that. Love all of you. All of you. Love all of you. Are there areas for opportunity? Maybe so. However, if there's something that you don't know, you don't know. You don't need to beat yourself up for it, right? If you don't know, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Right? So, we have to be so much more kinder to ourselves. And as you learn and live life, man, you're going to get it. But give yourself your own value on your life as maybe God intended. You are a very valuable person. You are here for a reason. Don't let anybody take that away from you. Show up in your own self-worth. You are worthy. All right, that's all my time. I thank you for listening in, tuning in. I appreciate you so much. Please click the like button if you like this message. Subscribe to the channel so you get the notification the next episode, which is going to be on taking your power back. All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of A Dash of Life podcast. I hope today's conversation added a touch of spirit, a pinch of passion, and a zest for life to your day.